Not necessarily those of Entercom Radio, its sponsors, or affiliates.
Core Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Freed. We have an awesome panel this morning. Always across from me, Alex Nafusi.
Hey, buddy. How are you? Good morning.
Hey, Alex. Good morning to you. Harry Glanz to my right.
What's up, my man?
So I went whitewater rafting in Tennessee a few years ago. And that was smoother than my ride into work today.
We're going to get to that.
That's how bad the roads are.
But
That's good.
You have nothing to worry about because we have the best show for you because we brought Kathy in. Kathy Brook is in from Max Brook Real Estate. Kathy, awesome to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Of course, you brought in your teammate, too, Helen from the office, and it's great to have Helen Reasoner here also. So good morning, Helen.
I talk to Helen all the time on Kathy's transactions because Kathy is that realtor that is out and about in her area, and she's one of the best in the business, and she's only been in the business for 30 years.
She's not that old.
Okay, I'm not giving away her age because
what did you start at 5 years old?
Yeah, because Kathy and
Actually,
I started
12.
at the same time. Kathy and I started at the same time, and here we are. We were young pups in the business. Now we're a little older, have families, children, spouses, and you know what? She's really, really successful, and I'm just a struggling mortgage guy.
No doubt.
What does that tell you over the last 30 years?
Kathy,
Kathy, what does that tell you?
8 years in a row as the number one agent in Michigan, 112 million closed last year. You're busy. You're really busy.
I am busy. I'm thankful to be this busy, and I know that it's taken a long time to get here. A great group of people that work for me. I mean, Helen has been with me 10 years now, and I started by myself before computers. There was an MLS system,
Well,
but
not before computers.
well, you know what I mean. Before the MLS system, actually,
You had to do everything by hand. You wouldn't know this. Kathy and I had to do everything by hand, and Harvey knows this because Harvey's been in the business a long time too, 30 years, almost 30 years.
Right.
You had to do everything by hand. And you actually had to talk to people on the phone or meet face to face. There was no email. There was no
text you
texting.
constantly?
No, but Kathy, she went out. She's still on the road, but she was out on the road face to face with everybody, loading people in her car in her area, taking people to houses all the time and grinding away. And you want to know something? Nothing has changed with her in the last 30 years. She works. I mean, she's a worker. She's a grinder every day.
I like that old school business tactic. I think that's a good. I should like tactic. That sounds like a bad word, but no, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I like the face-to-face communication.
So, Kathy, what are you doing here? Just the little changes that you're doing, but your work ethic's still the same. Your philosophies are still the same. All you've done is you've evolved over time with technology, but you cannot instill a work ethic in somebody. If somebody doesn't have a work ethic, then they don't have a work ethic. You still have to go out and work. So what are you doing? Tell me what your day's about, what your week's about, and you have a plan every day what you're going to do. So what's your plan?
Well, I tell my team every day starts at 0, right? And so I think that that's a good way to look at life because you can't live on your laurels. I mean, whatever happened last year happened last year. Today's a new day. So I have my team meetings on Monday mornings at 11 o'clock, and we go through.
Oh, I like 11 better than 10.
You know what? I decided to do that. Right. That was for me.
I like that way
That was
better.
my only selfish piece of the business.
Harry's are at 10.
Yeah, well, I do that too. There's a reason, but I want to hear Kathy's plan.
All right, so 11 o'clock Monday morning.
11 o'clock on Monday mornings, because it gives everybody a chance actually after a long weekend because we work 7 days a week.
Yeah, yep.
And so weekends are work days. So I just felt that Monday morning was a good time for everybody to just chill out and review what they were doing before we get into the meeting so that we're prepared.
Yep.
So what I've done, I think the beauty of this team that I've put together is that we're all women. You know, I have 3 daughters, so I love to support women. But
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's just
I'm getting fired.
You are. Let Kathy talk or you get fired.
Men in here. I think that what's happened over the course of the years is, you're right, nothing has changed in terms of diligence and ethics and values. You still need to have a good core value in order to be successful.
Yeah, you change with the times a little bit, developing some new skills and some knowledge.
The strategies,
Yeah.
and I think I graduated from Michigan State with a multidisciplinary
Go
degree.
Green.
Yes, go green.
Parties.
I'm wearing
Go
green
white.
today. You all can't see it, but we'll talk about Cranbrook CK hockey later.
Yes, we will.
But I think that what what has changed, the marketing aspect of everything changes over time, and that's why we're saying no computers. I mean, there were computers, but listen, when I graduated college, it was Fortran.
Yep.
You know, it was
COBOL
not
and Fortran.
right. COBOL and Fortran. So when I started the business,
Wait, what?
Right,
Don't
what
worry,
are
just
the four words?
Here, this is old. This is old school people talking here, brother.
Right,
Just-
right.
I was going to be quiet.
So, back, the whole idea though is taking, learning what is current and making sure that you implement what is current. Okay.
Well, but you bring up key things, Kathy, and it's just the fundamentals. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you came from, what time frame it is, but you've employed a team concept in your business because you recognized early on that if you were going to do a lot of business, you couldn't do it yourself.
Right.
You have to have a team, and it's so important in our world, in the mortgage world. We are big in our office on the team concept as well.
Well, people say, it's interesting because they say, oh, you don't have enough time. Well, yes, I do have enough time. I mean, I intentionally, my father years ago said, Kathy, make sure that you have systems in place so that you can do what it is that you do best.
That's right.
And that is sell. People say, well, then what do you do? Well, I have a wonderful director of operations. So that's Cheryl Bornius, and she sits at the office and cranks out the contracts and makes sure that we're clean from contract to close. And then Alexandra English, she's been with me many years, and she is my listing concierge. And so she's an instrumental part of making sure that the details don't slip through the cracks.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an analogy, Kathy, and it's like this with you. I mean, you're out, you're selling, you're dealing with clients, you're listing and you're selling homes, and that's what you do. And you have a team behind you that takes care of the sales contracts, it takes care of scheduling the appraisals, takes care of all those things. So you can go out and do what is your highest and best use, what you're really, really good at. So in my office, what I say to people, and we have a staff of about 63 people, and we have a great team, and our office manager's been with me for 25 years. Harvey's been there 23
Patty
years.
Sharples, love her.
Yeah, we've
call
got
her office mom.
We've got a great team behind us. So it's a point of contact. You don't call Kathy for candy in the candy machine. You call Kathy to list and sell your house, okay? Let people take care of what they're good at. And I use that just to break it down because we all have to do what we're really, really good at. And that's how you become successful. You have to be able to delegate, and you have to be able to be accessible to people. And I know you're really accessible to people.
So I appreciate that. And again, this is something that my father suggested, about 20 years ago when I had my children. He said, you have to have a system in place because what are you going to do? And so I brought in Carmela Vitale 16 years ago, and she was my assistant for 15 years. She just really helped me develop where I am today, become what I am today. And then I brought Helen in about 10 years ago, and Helen has been instrumental in the buyer's agency side.
Right.
Now, she's also a listing agent, too, because she has extensive contacts in the community. And that's important. And she's just so good at what she does. I mean, she graduated from Duke, economics. Yeah.
Wow.
You guys are all
she's
sharp
smart.
people. Yeah, you guys are all sharp. Hey, we take your calls.
Call her
He's a
Steady
basketball
Eddie.
team.
She's my Steady Eddie.
Grayson Allen's a cheap shot artist. It's okay.
I'm going to throw this out there.
I tripped it by accident.
Yeah. It's okay.
Hey,
Helen's strong.
We're
Helen
taking
is
all
strong.
calls this morning, 248-539-9797. It's awesome to have some great real estate agents in here. And again, talking about buying and selling real estate. We talked a little bit about the fact that computers changed the way things operate a little bit. Now the clients know a little bit more about that house, but nothing like hiring a buyer's agent that knows the intricacies of what's going on in the community, and they really can find out the motivation of the seller. And again, all of that has to do with communication. And you guys, definitely the knowledge, strong points. And I always tell it, anything with the new agents that are calling us and stuff, you can tell right away the knowledge and the communication. Either they need to get it a little better, or they're up to snuff and they're ready to go. And that's what really makes transactions go smooth. And who doesn't like a real smooth transaction? That's always a lot of fun. Also, what happened in 2007 here? Boy, you saw what was going on. Of course, we had a recession. Everyone came through it. The numbers are showing us now that we're finally back. Again, not everywhere in the United States, but definitely here. We see the prices are now back to where they were in 2006. So if you want to comment on that just a little bit, it's nice to see that our areas and our backyards, the Birminghams, the Grosse Pointe, everything's back on top.
Right. So getting back to buyer's agency, it was very interesting. That's when I brought Helen on, actually, the poor thing. She's here to talk about it. But she came in during what I would call a mini depression. Growing up here, you would have never thought you would have seen the amount of foreclosures. 75% of the business at that time, and you're very well aware of it because of what you had to go through to get mortgages approved. but 75% of the business was distressed. Whether it was
wow, I
a
didn't
short
know that.
sale, 75%.
Holy jeez.
Yeah. Case Shiller studies, I do a lot of Case Shiller
Yep.
review. And so that's the truth. And now it's probably 10% to 15%.
Yeah,
I mean, we
that's
still
much
have
more.
some, softening.
Yeah, I'm sure there's still lingering properties like
There-
that, and it was a bad time, as we all know. That our area, Southeast Michigan, Michigan in general, we're always the first one to go into a recession/depression,
The last one to come out.
and the last one to come out, which is why business is so strong right now. Okay, so this is we're in the 7th year of a very nice home selling cycle, but we are still catching up for the rest of the parts of the country. The Southwest has had this boom, the West Coast has had this boom, the South and the East. Now here we are in Michigan, and it's still extremely busy here, and you can still see that we're going to talk about it. We might as well get it out of the way now, that the lack of quality inventory on the market right now is driving the prices up, and because of the activity, we'll get into it after the break, because the activity in January and February was so strong, you're going to have a busy spring season. The question is, are there going to be homes to sell?
All righty. Hey, we got tons to share with you here this morning. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll be right back with all your calls.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke for Capital Mortgage Funding. We do loans everywhere. In Southfield, in Birmingham, in Royal Oak, in Grosse-Ile, in Detroit, in Canton, in Northville. No matter where you live, we want to do your mortgage too. That's Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Always give us a call, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's 1-800-569-7283. You got to have the local people represent you properly. It's all about the education, and again, getting that education behind you, give you the confidence to move forward. I've been talking to a lot of first-time home buyers this year, and I really feel like something changed, hopefully, and it works that way, is that they really do have an earning for the knowledge and figuring out how does this all work. So it's pretty exciting.
Yearning,
Again,
Harvey. Yearning for knowledge.
Yearning for it. Did I get it right? Yearning?
But
But definitely
earning for knowledge.
Okay. Thank you for correcting
I
me,
love you,
but I
buddy.
appreciate that. Definitely, though, but it's cool to find out.
I just wanted to talk.
Where do you fit into this home buying thing? And a lot of families, Alex, and we've been getting a plethora of families that have been calling us about taking a look at paying off their land contract. So many families got stuck in that situation where they didn't qualify. They might have did a short sale, and again, they immediately needed to get a new home. Whatever the situation was that put you into a land contract, give us a call now while the rates are still at all-time lows. Also, you can pay off the land contract, and a lot of times, if you qualify, take some equity out of the house to pay off other debts. Again, your land contract holder will be happy to get paid off on it, and more importantly, it could really start building your credit up, as mortgages are typically reported to your credit, always reported, where your land contract's not. So a lot of things you can do to help your financial house out is really get that credit under control. Again, we take your calls here, 248-539-9797. Talk a little bit about the cost of new construction, because, of course, that's what's been going on. The Canadians, actually, that was the first thing. The cost of lumber, a lot of it comes from Canada, has gone up recently. We have it's always about supply and demand. And of course, we had wildfires out in California and the hurricane down in Houston this year. So there's a demand for lumber. And of course, we need all these builders to start building houses, but we are going to see a little bit of cost go up. Matt, how does that work in the world of construction? Someone's getting a new house. Is there some things that you want to point out to all the new families out there that might be building a new house, and what type of new construction policy they would want to get?
Yeah, so depending on where you're at in the process, there's a couple of different ways to go, and this is when it's really important to sit down with your insurance agent. So in the event that you're building a home, even before, we have to insure it on what's called a builder's risk policy as the shovel goes into the ground, okay? And we're insuring it for the entire amount that is intended for the finished product.
The cost of the project.
The cost of the project is what we're going to insure that home for. Once it's done, then it would be insured just like any other home on an HO3 policy. But there's, the insurance companies have spent millions and millions of dollars on technology to help us determine what a true replacement cost should be. And that's where we find a lot of issues for insureds, is that they're underinsured. And in the event that you have a loss, whether it's a total loss or a partial loss, you could end up with a coinsurance problem, meaning that you could end up with, 40, 50, 60 cents on a dollar on the claim that should be paid in full.
Hey, Matt, at this time of year, do you get, because, we just turned into 2018 and people are starting to do their taxes right now. And we know that the tax deadline to file is coming up. Do you get a lot of people that want to sit down and go over their insurance coverages on an annual basis and just kind of want to brush up on what they have, and then you sit down with them, tell them maybe you need a little bit more here or there? I mean, take me through that, because I know I do that every year, but I'm just wondering if other people, what your standard operating procedure with your clients is.
So it's something that we do in the very beginning, especially when it's a new client coming in. We want to make sure that we review what they have.
Where the most important guest is you. 97.1 The Ticket.
All righty, welcome back to the show. 9:18. You're listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Show.
Sometimes, Harvey, the conversation at the break can be better than the conversation when we're on the air.
Oh, yeah, but
only we can't say anything. We can't talk about it. That's right.
Definitely at least as good. But we take all your calls here live in the studio. If you're buying or selling a house, if for some reason your house has been left on the market and you're not getting the foot traffic, you definitely have to give us a phone call. We're going to get you set up with the top agents in the area, and that's the key. Again, if you want to save money, call Capital Mortgage Funding. I know we have an office full of people. I know that Gabrielle's in there today also.
Hi, Gabrielle.
She's grabbing the telephones. And again, if you guys have any questions, you want to call Capital Mortgage Funding at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage bank.
So before we went to the break, Harvey, we talked about how business is in January and February this year. It's really strong here in Southeastern Michigan. We're at the start of a 7-year cycle, a boom on home sales. And I'm going to ask Kathy, Kathy and Helen, listen, here, what's going on with listings in your area where you do your business? And Kathy, explain to where you're we used to call back in the day a farm area, but I think everybody's doing so much business in other areas now. It doesn't really matter where you farm. But get into that a little bit. Where are you seeing sales, property values, and what's your projection for the spring?
So, right, farm areas, that we started a long time ago, didn't
Remember
we?
That
right,
farm
exactly.
Area?
Right, for sure. Well, personally, what my career has been more broad-based anyway. I grew up in Bloomfield and moved out to the Lakes area back in 1976, and we had a summer cottage out there in the 60s. So
I was born in 78.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, great. Oh, nice, thanks. Hey, she was on a roll before you threw that in.
I was water skiing back then. I was driving. Anyway, so what I always say to my children, I say, you never know what doors are open and what that is, what that does for your future, right? Because when I moved, moved from Lasser High School, and oh my gosh, there was...
You went to Lasser?
I did, but I didn't graduate. I mean, I moved out to West Bloomfield, so I went to West Bloomfield High School. And it was devastating, but it was the best thing that ever happened. I met great people there, wonderful young women, went to West Bloomfield. And anyway, but I didn't realize that I was getting prepared for my career. Right, because when I drove out there, it was all farmland. Wabeek was the farm, and when you went out to Orchard Lake, Wilkins Corners, where my father had the first lakefront real estate office, it said no horses allowed. I mean, it was truly rural. And if you remember, Northwestern Highway was a dirt road, and Little Caesars, had the wonderful, piano bar down on Northwestern Highway. So. Anyway, so I moved out there when I was 15 years old, and that was an education for me. So I've always had the opportunity to have a broader base. I don't just work in one area.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, I'm North Oakland County, but predominantly. But my family had the Clarkston office 45 years ago. They had the Rochester office 40 years ago. So I was exposed to a lot.
Yeah, you and I talked about actually Northville being an awesome area. And again,
Fabulous.
you work the whole Tri-County area,
Yep.
generally speaking. And
Correct.
again, that area is a fantastic growing area also.
Correct.
You know, you mentioned at the break was really good, how hard you worked at the beginning. And I remember hitting every real estate office and trying to build relationships. You mentioned that you were doing open houses every weekend for 10 years. That's pretty amazing. That puts a lot of effort in.
So, and this is something again too. It seems like everybody's getting their license today, and that if you're going to commit to having this career, I think it's very important to realize you have to put in the sweat equity. And so, using the internet all the time, we were talking about how the internet. Harry was saying, "Oh yes, you see a picture, but it's not like being live," which is true. So, holding open houses is something that allows agents to meet people. It gives them their own exposure, their own branding, so that they're able to, have dialogue with people. I also think there's another thing. I'm going to segue a little bit, but we have what's called, board tour, right? Where, we as listers like to put our houses on board tour so that agents can come out and view properties tangibly. You can't understand the industry if you don't touch it. I mean, you can't just use the internet to bypass the hard work.
So your business, the real estate and mortgage business are so closely aligned, and we have to do things the same way. If the loan officers are not working on weekends because agents are working on weekends and clients are seeing houses on weekends at night because people work during the day, so they can't go to a house during the day, and people don't want people going in the house during the day. You have to make, you have to make an appointment with a listing agent. You have to give your ID number. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be trustworthy. And then you have to be available, whether you're a realtor or a mortgage person, when the client is available. It's not when you're available. So that could be 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night.
It's a
But
service
that's why
on
you're
the
so
weekend.
successful.
So
But
we
that's
do-
why
yeah, we do the
capital
same
mortgage
things.
funding's successful.
You have to be available when your clients are available. So this is a 7-day-a-week business. Okay,
Dude, I had
that's
my
what it is.
laptop at the
Real
pool.
estate.
When I was in Mexico, I had my laptop at the pool.
If you're not
That's why.
willing,
Yep.
if you're not willing to put in the time, and now you can use the internet for marketing, Ken. We use it for marketing all the
sure.
time. We use everything, radio, TV. If you're not doing everything and being face to face with people, you cannot be successful. And that's what you've done.
This is what's cool about you, and, like this show and everything, is that like I'm being silly and I'm getting the stare down from Harry. He's like, oh my gosh, please stop talking, Alex. Just let go. But dude, we're real people.
It's the same
that
vibe.
care about we
Right.
care about our clients. No, I have no client that's 831-275. Everyone's the Glantz file, the Freed file, the Brock
Thank you.
file. We take everything personally. Like, we can be
You have
silly,
to.
and
But that's what Kathy has done, and she mentioned the fact that
You care.
fundamentally. Listen, Kathy's daughter's a hockey player. My daughter's a hockey player. If they don't go to practice every day and skate and skate and skate, and
Blocking and
skate,
tackling,
you're not going to win. Okay, if we don't come to work and go ahead and do what we do and have our plan on a daily basis and do the fundamentals every day and do the other things, the marketing, the radio, the TV, the internet, and all that, you're just not going to be successful. That's just the
it's
way
not
it
gonna
is.
happen.
You can't do it. So you try to use all the tools available, and Kathy's certainly using all the tools available to her because
You can't do anything
she's built this
part-time.
phenomenal team, right? And you can't get in the business, so it hurts me. It hurts me when I walk around and people say, I say, well, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm in the mortgage business.
really.
Well, man, you're
No,
not.
you're not.
You're not really in the mortgage
No,
business. So
you're
I know
not.
you feel the same way because it's in vogue now for everybody to have, seemingly everybody to have a real estate license.
Right. And I'm here to help. I mean, so I had a transaction out on Union Lake this year, and it was $1.5 million home. It was this young woman's first sale ever. And it was a family member, and I helped her through the transaction, and she was really sweet. She sent me a note and said, I don't know if you realize this. This was my first deal ever.
Not a
I'm
bad first
$1.5
deal.
million? Oh, my gosh. So anyway.
Mine was 80,000.
Right.
Mine was
my first deal ever.
45.
Mine was probably 40.
Sorry, go ahead. Was it really?
I don't know. It was so long ago.
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. Right. You weren't born.
But it took a team. Hey, but you got it done. I mean, the key is that
This
she
is
probably
why it's
looked like
fun.
she looked like she was a superstar because you were involved in the
know what?
transaction.
And I'm happy for her. I mean, it was really, and she was very a pleasure to work with. But I think what happens is that people they're getting their licenses because it's easy to get your license. You can get it online.
Well, yeah, it's like take the driver's ed test.
But they think,
Exactly.
but see, the problem is, Kathy, they see and they think that the business is so easy because, listen, the price of houses in our area are high, and especially where you like to do your business, they're higher sales. So they believe that, take the percentage that they're going to get times the number of houses they think they're going to sell. They're going to go out and get a real estate license, and they're going to make a living. It's not that easy. Trust me, mortgages and real estate is not an easy livelihood.
Right? I mean, it's so litigious. I mean, you would think that somebody making, I'm from Michigan State, remember?
Yes.
I'm a Sparty too, you know that.
We're a lot of green around here. I think the thing that I believe that everybody should have an opportunity to have a start.
Yeah.
Right. But I just don't know if there's enough mentoring out there. I think people are just getting their licenses and going out
That's a great point.
Right? And just thinking that you can do it. And I think people need to be very, very careful because these are legal, these are big contracts, right? I mean, you have, all these real estate firms that are law firms that are reviewing contracts all the time and adjusting what we have to say. Well, we've been doing it for a long time. So if attorneys are adjusting what we have to say, imagine what happens when somebody is new and they aren't using an attorney to review the documents if they need be. So I just think it's very important to, if you are in the business and you're new in the business, to make sure you have a good mentor to learn from.
Right. So, Kathy, real estate values. What do you see?
Yeah, you're talking about that.
You're seeing that you're seeing an area prices go up because you're seeing a lack of inventory, and that's the loss of supply and demand.
It depends on the market too.
So, tell me about it. So, what happens? I mean, you're trying to get a price for a house, and you list it for a price, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, you get that listed price. What happens if it doesn't come in? What happens if we send an appraiser out and the appraisal doesn't come in? What do you do?
Well, this is interesting because my philosophy is we are there with our comparables every time there's an appraisal.
Love it. That's answer number one.
Yep. Yeah. And you can't just let them in the door. You have to be there after what happened in 2008. Right. It's a critical piece to the service element again of what we do,
especially in the luxury homes that you're looking at.
No, 300. I mean, we have a sale on Colony Hill. We're going over there. We're meeting the appraiser. Same thing. Doesn't matter the price.
That's a great segue. We're going to lead into real answers, real solutions. We got bidding wars going on. We're going to talk about escalation clauses and how to get your offer accepted. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke for Capital Mortgage Funding. We do loans everywhere. In Southfield, in Birmingham, in Royal Oak, in Groseal, in Detroit, in Canton, in Northville. No matter where you live, we want to do your mortgage too. That's Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Little Detroit music there for you. Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. 1-800-LOW-RATE is where you're going to find us. 1-800-569-7283. Always call Capital Mortgage. You're going to save money on closing costs. Get the best, lowest interest rates, but get the knowledge you need to make the great decisions.
That's one of the most famous rock and roll guitar riffs of all time.
I like it.
I'm just saying.
I like it. Little local music here. Hey, we brought Matt Patani in. We have an insurance agent in, which is great. Matt, you've been awesome so far, and we'll keep things rolling here. Of course, hopefully anyone out there listening gives Matt a call, or even call your own insurance guy and find out what they got going, because that's the one thing we realize with most families is when you look to call the insurance guy, you find out, you're not covered, and it's nice to hear you're covered. I'm going to tell you a quickie is we want to take your phone calls before that, 248-539-9797. But sure enough, Harry, I ended up getting a flat tire on one of those potholes the other day, and I call my insurance.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had a nice one here.
My dad.
7:30. It's dark. It is a one-lane road. Anyways, I pull off in a well-lit area, but more importantly, I called the insurance company, the car insurance, and I'm no names here, and they said, "Oh no, you have towing coverage." And at the end of the day, I was covered. And then they take the car to the dealership, and I had the tire coverage. So I got to tell you, a week, which would typically be Matt and I, of course, we say we're pulling our hair out over here. But the fact of the matter
that's
is,
impossible.
You guys can never do that.
Other than a little bit of a hassle, having some people having to drive me back and forth to the dealership. Hey, I was covered, and I'll tell you, it took a bad situation and it made it okay.
Sure.
And it's
good. Before the break, we were talking about property values, and it's that time of year now where people are putting in purchase agreements, and the market is very hot right now. And people are, slightly overpaying, and I'm using that term. I've got the air quotes going, overpaying. It's really not overpaying if you want that property. However, the appraisal value could come in lower than the anticipated purchase price that you want to agree at, the agreement that you've had to buyer and seller. And people always say, well, Harry, if we agreed to it, if buyer and seller agrees to the price, well, then that's the price. Well, that is a true statement in and of itself. The however is it doesn't have to appraise for what you guys agree to.
Right.
to sell it for.
Here's the
Okay,
thing.
so
You
if
can
I
buy
buy
for whatever you
something,
want.
I can pay whatever I want for
Exactly.
it. And
Win $1,000 an hour every weekday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Be listening each hour at approximately half past the hour for the $1,000 keyword. Text that keyword to 72881 and you'll be entered to win $1,000 in this national contest. Message and data rates apply. Win $1,000 an hour on 97.1 The Ticket.
The next time you're in Vegas, head to the D Las Vegas. It's not on the Strip. It's in downtown Vegas. The odds are better, the party's bigger, and you'll feel right at home. Book your stay today at thed.com. The D Las Vegas, your home for Detroit sports in Vegas.
Sports news all day, every day. This is 97.1 The Ticket.
A near triple-double for Blake Griffin of the Pistons. 25 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Pistons that snap a 4-game skid, 99-83 to defeat the Bulls. Red Wings losers to the Columbus Blue Jackets, 3-2. Darren Helms scoring for Detroit. The Red Wings have now dropped 6 straight games. Big trade for the Cleveland Browns. They get quarterback Tyrod Taylor from Buffalo for a third-round pick. Dolphins also agreed to send Pro Bowl receiver Jarvis Landry to Cleveland for 2 draft picks. Seattle, as expected, releases 7-year veteran corner Richard Sherman. The Broncos agree to trade star corner Aqib Talib to the Rams for a mid-round pick. Tiger Woods once was in the lead by himself. Now through 2 rounds, he's among a group. 2 shots back of the PGA's Valspar Championship. He had 4 birdies in a 368 yesterday. At the Ticket Update Desk, I'm Jeff Lesson. For more, 97.1 theticket.com.
Building a world-class sports station in a world-class sports city.
97.1 The Ticket.
All right, welcome back to the show, 9:34 if you just joined us. What a gorgeous day out there. It's a great day to go out and look at some real estate. Be sure to call Capital Mortgage first. Get that approval letter. That's right, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. It's key that you get that strong approval letter. Go out there and make that correct offer on the house. Again, if you haven't refinanced yet, consider consolidating your debt. Get rid of that high interest rate and drop the term and get rid of all of those credit card debts. Of course, that's a toxic debt out there. And of course, some new tax laws came out where you're not able to deduct the home equity loan interest anymore. We have a plethora of clients, I keep using that word, coming to us to consolidate their first and second mortgage. And not only are they doing that, they're taking advantage of getting a lower term on the mortgage. Again, although rates are not at 50-year lows, they're about at 40-year lows, and still a great opportunity to save a lot of money.
They definitely burped up. I mean, yeah, it's probably not even a burp anymore. They jumped, man.
Yeah, we talked about that. They were not going to stay in the 3s forever. Mortgage rates, 15-year fixed, were in the low 3s, and 30-year fixed were in the high 3s for a very long time. So now 30-year fixed rates are in the mid 4s, and 15-year fixed rates are in the high 3s. So if you really take a look at that historically, the last 50 years, it's seriously on the low end of the scale. So I wouldn't let that deter you. I mean, it's really... money's cheap out there. You're borrowing it, and after tax, you're probably paying somewhere in the mid 3s anyway. So you have to take a look at that, and don't let that deter you. Find a house, and Kathy and Helen will tell you if you find a house that you like. Prices aren't going down right now. Everybody, they're just not. So.
Yeah,
they're going up.
Yeah, the continued lack of inventory out there is definitely going to be a problem for a lot of families.
There's not a lack of inventory.
Kathy,
I want to hear Kathy's take on this. So, Kathy, is there a lack of inventory, a lack of quality inventory? What's going on?
Okay, so you said, Harry, that was it. Quality inventory.
Why are you stealing my thunder?
Fire!
No, so Alex and I come on and we talk about things, and we like to shake it up like you like to shake it up. During the break, you said, okay, who changes the mortgage and real estate industry? And you said, you were wearing leather and jeans and not being stodgy and everything. Well, no, it's true. We feel the same way.
She did say that.
We feel the same way. We feel like The reason why we put this show together 18 years ago is because we wanted to disseminate accurate versus inaccurate information. There's a lot of inaccuracies out there. So an inaccuracy was there's a lack of inventory. But you say no, there's a lack of what?
Quality inventory.
Right. You could find a house. You might want to buy
pricing
it.
too. I mean, I went on listing appointments this week and last week, and Helen came with me a few times, and they wanted X amount, which was overvalued, and so we didn't get the listing. Because
you're honest with somebody.
Because you're honest.
And
Didn't say I can get you $500,000 when it's only worth $400,000.
But see, that's really people talk about being honesty and everything like that. Why would you want to waste your time and somebody else's time? Isn't that what it's about?
Well, and money, time, and this. Last year, because of the fact their perception is that it's low inventory, so we can get more money for the house. That perception is out there, and so when you're going for a listing, that's you're competing against other agents that say, "Oh, I can get it for you. I can get you that number." Well, if I can't, who can? I mean, I don't say that. I say that humbly, but
no, you don't.
No, she says it humbly, but you wait, time out. I agree with her. I'm going to call a timeout on that. When you've been in the business and you've had a track record,
I had to make that joke.
Okay, you're
call you out on your tattoos.
It is a humble thing when you tell somebody, "Hey, listen, I'm just going to let you know, you want $750,000 for the house. You want to list it for that, and I want to get that for you. But here's the however. I'm going to hold an open house. We're going to market it. We're going to put it on the internet. We're going to do everything we can. However, I'm telling you right now, based on my vast experience, this house is a $700,000.
Exactly. That's what's cool about Kathy. She's she's going to tell you like flat. She's not going to give you the sales pitch. Like if your house is worth $350,000, she's not going to say, "Yeah, let's put it up for $425,000. I'll get it for you." Right. As a new realtor, you're going to be honest. Say, "Listen, man, I don't have time. I'm not going to waste my time or yours. Right. You listen to this for 6 months."
Kathy, of course, you want to avoid getting those just reduced signs that you have to put up on the house.
I've had to do that.
Do they
That's
do
for
that?
sure.
Yeah, they still happen. Hey, Kath, I got a couple things to go over here. One of the things we're talking about here is these offers, and again, there's multiple bids and such. The purchase agreements have become a little bit more wordy. There's a lot more language on them because we're starting to say, if you're going to overbid on the house, then we're starting to put what you'll buy a couple $1,000s over the appraised value. We're putting minimums down and maximums down. And I see you reaching over to Helen saying, yeah, this is coming up a lot. So, yes, these purchase agreements, if you don't have the knowledge to add that language to your purchase agreement, you're not working with the right people.
Right. Well, Helen right now is working on an offer in Royal Oak. And why don't you tell them what's going on?
It's a tough market in places like Royal Oak where you might have 10 offers on a property. And if you don't come up with some strategies to get it.
You got to get right in there.
Oh, if you don't come up with some good strategies to buy the house, you will not get it. And you might. A new realtor that doesn't know how to do it might write 10 different offers on different properties, and you will not be able to get it.
What street's it on?
What street?
In Royal Oak.
Everywhere.
I think that's an offer in Royal Oak.
Royal Oak's a very competitive
we don't
market.
want to say.
I know, I live there.
Yeah, 20 people showing up.
We're bidding on it right now.
No,
all right. Sorry. We're just trying to make conversation for the radio.
And that's it. And Helen, that is a great that is a great point. You have to have a strategy. You just can't go in willy-nilly and just write an offer and hope you get it. Hope is never a good strategy. You have to have a plan. So people are coming up with it. There's beautiful properties all over, and people are bidding multiple offers, multiple bids. So what offer is going to go ahead and get accepted? It's the one that's most attractive to that buyer, and you have to do some creative things. So what are some of the creative things that you have to do?
We'll put caps on what it has to appraise for in order to purchase it. Obviously, pricing, you have to go over asking.
How about occupancy? Close instead of 60 days, 45 days.
Sometimes
right?
We're giving free occupancy.
So you're going to give free occupancy to the seller that's going to live there. You'll give free occupancy for maybe 30 days.
Could be 60 days. I mean, you've got to do whatever you can do, having talked to the listing agent and see what that seller.
I think that's great, and we talked about that on the show last week. Everybody, we talked about that here's the situation. If you write an offer, and you generally there for 45 to 60 days, but you can shorten it up and say 45, but we can get you closed in 30. I wouldn't write the offer in 30 because unless you're going to give free occupancy, because somebody might not be able to move. That seller might not be able to vacate.
Well, that's the thing. They got to find
closing.
a house, man.
So they have to find it. So there are things like you said. I love that. I'm going to tell you this right now because I love that free occupancy, but I shouldn't even say that because there are people listening now. Everybody's going to do it if they haven't done it already.
Yep.
But I love it. I think that's a great thing where you can offer that. Say, hey, we'll close you in 30 to 45 days, and we'll give you 30 days free occupancy. Isn't that great?
Well, yeah, it's nice to have that.
Well, and that approval letter, too, is huge. I mean, you have to make sure that you have that solid approval letter. That isn't something, it's not a letter from an attorney. It's not a letter that you created yourself or that you doctored up from the internet. It has to be a solid capital mortgage funding approval letter.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, we're still dealing with people that are, I don't know where this mentality comes from.
I don't get why you would make a fake pre-approval letter.
They're doing it.
If you can't qualify to buy the house.
Yeah,
We've had
that
more
is.
this year again.
Kathy, you make a great point. I don't want to cut you off on that, but you make a great point about these approval letters because we've seen pre-qual letters actually, and there's lenders, and again, you can't shop for your mortgage locally here, and you're dealing with an out-of-state lender. It's usually going to be a problem for you. There's plenty, if not us, are probably going to save you a ton of money by dealing with some local lenders. It helps our local economy out. That music says I'm up against a little bit of a break. When we come back, we're going to go into all this stuff again, making that negotiation, understanding the motivation of the seller is going to be key when you make that offer. You got to have real estate agents that know how to communicate. We'll keep it here. We'll be right back.
97.1 The Ticket.
Select your.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Bird for Capital Mortgage Funding. We do loans everywhere. In Southfield, in Birmingham, in Royal Oak, in Groseal, in Detroit, in Canton, in Northville. No matter where you live, we want to do your mortgage too. That's Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
All right, welcome back to the show, 948. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, live here on 97.1 in our 18th season. Appreciate all the people out there listening. If you want to give us a call, 248-539-9797. Try to give you extremely objective answers to all your questions regarding mortgages and real estate. We're here to definitely help you save money. A lot of great opportunities out there as we see many families have been hunkering down to refinance. Pulling equity out of their house is definitely a good way to go to consolidate your debt and get yourself set up for the future. Definitely find out how it all works. Again, it's usually the closing cost, the interest rate, and then the service, and making sure that transaction gets done in a timely manner, and that's the key to it. Again, we will take your calls, 248-539-9797. Definitely home prices have been going up. The U.S. home prices from the Case-Shiller Price Index are showing that 6.3% from last year, as all the numbers are still trickling in from last year. But again, we expect a robust home buying season here, Harry. And as you mentioned, you better get your ducks in a row because in December, January, and what we just experienced in February, which are typically our little bit slower months, it's been multiple offers and such. And we talk about that plan if you're going to overbid on a house. Make sure you put a separate addendum together or language on that purchase agreement with some minimums on there. And so that way all parties have their expectations set up front and there's no problems, again.
Or be prepared to pay the difference.
Okay.
Between the appraised value and the sales price.
That's not a bad thing to do either.
That's true.
We wanted to thank always Matt Batanti for coming in also from Lenahan Versical Insurance and Agency. So again, if you haven't met with your insurance agency, this time of year would be a great time of the year to do it. We did have, Matt, you mentioned about that serious water problem that happened here and back in just a couple of years ago.
Didn't FEMA kick in for that, though, or no?
I don't know if they actually
wasn't
did.
the whole city of Huntington Woods? Didn't that flood? Huntington Woods was rough.
Was
a lot of areas, Warren and everything.
Yep.
I love it. I didn't get it at all. When like the street east of me and the street west of me, everything flooded, and of course my basement, whatever, backs up floods.
It just backed up 2 weeks ago.
For no reason.
It's going to happen. There isn't, and again, you don't want to throw a blanket over everything and make it too widespread. But if on a seller's disclosure, there should be somebody should say, my sump pump backed up or it flooded or we had this or that. A leaky basement, a wet basement, moisture down there, it isn't unusual. But to hide it is the worst part. Yeah. Okay, it's not unusual. It happens in basements. These things do happen.
Well, you can mediate it, too, and disclose it, and then just say...
Well, what you do is you say, listen, my basement flooded because of what happened in 2014. It happened everywhere, and it's all taken care of.
Here's the receipt from Emergency Restoration.
Everybody expects that, by the way.
Sure.
Well, here's the thing. In Oakland County, Woodward's the high point. From elevation standpoints. Everything slopes down away from Woodward.
Okay.
That's why people have wet basements around, like Royal Oak, Berkeley, Birmingham.
Even off
Ferndale,
the Woodward corridor.
Yeah.
Right, close to Woodward.
As you mentioned, these things can be fixed. And again, a lot of the homes were built back in times when we didn't have quite the technology we have now to figure. Alrighty, welcome back to the show, 947. If you're just joining us, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We take your calls live in the studio, 248-539-9797. Always at Capital Mortgage all week long at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. I know we have a full staff, and it's key to get that approval letter. Let's go to a call here and get things going. Tyler in from Bloomfield Hills. Good morning, Tyler. Welcome to our show.
Tyler, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm going to ask, I was actually asking on behalf of a friend here, but she's looking to get a mortgage, get out of renting a house, or renting an apartment, and she wanted to find out if it was possible to actually get a loan given all of her statistics. So I can kind of give you those, and then you let me know if
go ahead, man.
What her next step is.
Let's go for it.
Credit score is around 460.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Well, wait, let's hear the rest of it.
Yeah, and then so she got that debt to income is right around 25%. She's a monthly income of $5,000 take home. Mm-hmm. But my other question, part of that, is payments from an ex for child support. Does that count in that?
It does.
Yeah, it does, yes. But so, if her debt to income is 25%, why can't she pay her bills on time?
Yeah, so here's a question I have. I have two questions. Number one, Tyler, because you're representing her in a matter of speaking, why is her credit score so low, and what caused it to be so low?
A lot of bad history and bad choices.
Okay, so has she been paying on time for any length of period of time now?
On a lot of them, they kind of, she's just making some choices where they're falling off, but then she's caught them back up. And right now, where she's at, and that's why I'm trying to help her out.
Okay,
she is caught up.
So good. So here's what we'll do: we'll pull that history. Yeah, we'll pull that history and take a look at it. To answer your question, will support add to the income? The answer is yes. There has to be 3 years of support payments left going forward, but we can definitely count the support payments as part of her income.
Okay.
The biggest, right now, the hurdle is going to be the credit, but I want to take a look at that if that's okay.
A lot of, like, with you talking about her payment, like one child's 16, one is 13. So there's probably a change coming when the child becomes 18.
Yep.
Does that factor into this?
Sure. It'll factor into it, but, It sounds like she has other income, and then we'll be able to use some of that support income. And I want to take a look at the credit. Alex is very good at helping people fix their credit. We do it in-house. You don't have to pay for it. Don't succumb to any of those credit repair agencies saying that they can fix your credit and giving them a $500 fee and then more money on top of that. It's not something that you can wipe away. If you've made late payments and you have a late payment history, the only thing that changes that is time and making your payments on time. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
It's good stuff. Thanks for the call, Tyler. We'll follow up
Tyler.
with you. Again, it's a great call. Again, if you have any situations out there that are similar to that, definitely give us a call, Capital Mortgage Funding. We run the mortgage credit report. Then we're able to run that credit report through our software program, which will give us what we need to do to get your credit score up. And as Alex mentioned, it takes credit to improve your credit score. So a lot of times that's the key. And over time, you can really pull that credit score up. And we're here to help people. Again, a lot of people have bumps and quirks in their financial profile. That's not new. Lots of folks have those issues, but we have solutions. And whether you're self-employed or you're a W-2 employee, a lot of families have the income situation with writing off a lot of their income. So again, let us sit down with you and show you what the numbers look like. This is CPA season here. We're getting ready to get our taxes done and such, and I wanted to throw that out there. Sometimes you sit with your CPA and say, I might need to show more income this year because I'm thinking about making a move.
Well, if you're scrambling right now and going through your shoebox full of receipts and you're trying to get them together for your accountant, your bookkeeper, whoever's doing your taxes, you got to get that stuff in order because I'm telling you, your accounting professional, is that you, Alex, is raising his hand? Your accounting professional right now, they're in their office right now, and they're meeting with clients, and the last thing they want to do is go through all your receipts in your shoebox. So, but Harvey, you mentioned it, and Kathy can tell you this, is that when people will come to you and they'll say that they're already pre-approved, and you'll say, can I see a pre-approval letter? And then you'll get an approval letter, a pre-approval letter from, we like to refer to it as trunk of your car mortgage company. And what do you do at that point in time? I mean, you have to, the lenders in the area, your experience, and you just have to shake your head when you see these things.
Well, it's very important. I pride myself on consistency, right? Because we don't want to discriminate anybody either. I mean, if they can afford a house, great. We want you to be able to purchase a home. It's, the American dream. So we do ask if we get something, as I mentioned earlier in the show, if we get something that's a letter from an attorney or
how is an attorney writing a letter for a mortgage? I don't
know why they think that's legitimate pre-approval, but we do ask that they communicate with a Capital Mortgage Funding or somebody who has a reputation in the community, a great reputation in the community, so that the seller feels good about it. Just like Helen was saying earlier, when you write an offer, and I'm a big lister, right? I love to list and market. So when I receive a pre-approval from somebody I don't know, and an offer, and another offer with an approval letter from someone I do know, guess what I'm going to do?
Exactly.
I'm going for the one that I can trust.
Yeah, for sure.
Only
because
natural.
I know that we're going to get to the finish line. So.
Right.
And that would be the difference between having a Capital Mortgage
especially
Funding
with
letter and a letter from what did you say, Joe Schmo Bank from the trunk of the car.
Well, I said trunk of your car mortgage. Thank you.
Obviously, with housing demand continue to outpace the supply out there, tight inventory is putting some added stress, driving up these prices. Redfin reported 19.2% of the homes sold over asking price. Right, you better have a strong approval letter and ready to go because there's other people that are willing. That's almost 20% of the homes last year sold for over asking. That's a great point.
Right.
We got a little hockey to talk about. So your daughter plays for the
You all can't see, but I'm wearing green and blue today.
You got it. Now, Cranbrook Kingswood is taking on in the state finals Grosse Pointe South today over at the Novi Ice Arena. Congratulations. Your daughter's one of the players, and congratulations to her team and coaches.
Thank you.
And do you want to throw it's her senior year?
Senior year, Brigitte Ballard.
All right.
Bridget and about a half a dozen of these senior girls have been playing since they were 6 years old, and they opted to stay with their alma mater.
Yep.
I do have to throw in that we have to thank Doug and Maureen Brown for getting these girls into hockey at such a young age, because we didn't have a girls' hockey team in the Birmingham Bloomfield community, so they created this Pink Wings team. And these girls have flourished. And
she's been with the same girls forever for that long.
So some of them went off. One of the girls went and played with Little Caesars. Some of the girls went and played
Bell Tire, all that stuff.
Honey Bake, Bell Tire, CompuWare. Yeah, those are the AAA teams. Yeah. And then their girls are playing within their communities. They stayed in their neighborhood. They played with their friends. Then they went to high school. And then they decided, and a lot of high schools now do have teams. Cranbrook Kingswood has had a team, and a very, very successful team for a number of years.
Oh, we're fortunate enough, too, to have our own ice. And have Wallace Ice Arena at our own campus.
Right. I was lucky enough for my daughter to be an athlete. She played hockey and softball growing up. She was a very good athlete. I'm bragging on her. And she's a little older than Kathy's daughter.
Who's better, Sydney or Eric?
Well, that's a debate at the dinner table very often. But I think there's nothing better. And I think I think that, when you're raising children and you want them to be independent, you want them to be athletic, you want them to make up their own decisions, and you want them to make those good decisions. And I think that sports, for both boys and girls, men and women, it brings that discipline because you're going to practices and you have to do your homework. And,
absolutely.
You have to get good grades because if you don't get good grades, then you can't play, especially in a high school setting. If you don't have the grades, I'm not worried about Cranbrook and Kingswood, but in a public school where I coach, you have to have grades in order to be able to play. So it helps you discipline. I think that there's a discipline, there's teamwork, there's camaraderie. There are all those things.
That's such an outstanding point. When you play with the same people for a long time, and I've been in your firm for 17 years, which is unheard of for someone my age to be that loyal, that committed. My buddies jump around company to company every 6 months. But the guys I played lacrosse with, Dan Preston, Chris Max, these guys I've known forever. You just know where they're going to be.
But it's in business too. It's in business. If you have a team, because
I'm going that way. I
well,
know
but
what you're
Kathy
gonna
has a
be.
team, and she comes and meets every Monday morning. They high five, they yell and scream, they go there. We do the same thing in our office. It's about teamwork. You can't get any place in life just trying to do something yourself. You have to be able to trust other people, and you have to be a good teammate. And if you want to be a leader,
That's what I was saying.
If you want to be a leader, Kathy, you have to lead by example, and you have to trust everybody else to help your team out. And that's what I find in teamwork, in sports, in life, in business. It's all the
It's
same.
interesting. We were fortunate enough to have. I don't know if you ever heard of the personality profile called Strength Finders.
Sure.
Well, I've done it. I did it for my team, and Cranbrook they did it for the boys and the girls hockey team, and it was very interesting because they were able to, about 2.5 weeks ago, they did their full assessment. And so these girls were able to look at each other completely differently. There are only 3 girls on the whole team that have competition in their top 5, which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're all empathetic and futuristic thinkers and apathy. And so when they go out on the ice, they have a better understanding of how to play with one another.
Right.
And this year, I don't think I've ever seen the puck passed more, ever. Which
Right.
to me is
Because they know where they're going to be. They
Right.
can feel it. Like
So,
you know where your
so
teammate
people
is, your
people
line mates.
listening right now are saying, what does that have to do with mortgages and real estate?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, no, it absolutely does, because when you're working with somebody that has been doing it a long time, that values a relationship and values your relationship as a client, you know you're going to be taken care of. Okay, if you're just out there and you're a lone wolf and you're just doing things on your own, you don't value a relationship. You're just in it for the transaction as opposed to the relationship, and that's not our business.
All right.
Yeah,
You guys
I
are not
agree,
going to
man.
believe it. That music says we're done, okay? But we got a lot to get into, so we'll have you back again, Kathy. Again,
Kathy's addicted to the show.
Thank you,
now.
Helen.
anyone out there looking at purchasing or refinancing their home, be sure to call Capital Mortgage Fund, and we'll get you set up with the great real estate agents here locally. And, of course, call Capital 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker all weekend long. All right, for Alex Nafusi, for Harry Glantz, for Kathy Brooke and her team, Helen over there, I'm Harvey Freed. We'll see you next Saturday.